Hello and welcome to this week's look at action and stunts on film and television. I hope you are well. Thanks for popping back and joining me here to look at The Man Who Would Be King, or certainly a section of it, the last part of the picture from 1975, the Sean Connery, Michael Caine picture directed by John Huston, and the action coordinated by Jim Arnett. This particular moment, we are looking at the high fall at the end of the picture, and it's worth making comparisons here because this is a very different type of high fall. Joe Powell is doubling for Sean Connery. Looks very much like him in the full regalia, the crown, everything. What happens here is that the bridge is built by the construction company. That never existed, so that was built. Two purposes. Firstly, obviously, the star of the picture, Sean Connery, has to wander out onto the bridge into the middle and has to start singing because he knows that his time is up. Meanwhile, at this end of the bridge, they are hacking at the ropes and they're going to cut that bridge down and he will fall to his death into the canyon. Joe Powell will do the fall for him, but he has to make absolutely certain that he hits a box rig, a catcher that has been built, and we're going to take a look at the footage. And again, I'd never seen this footage before, so it's only, I think, become available relatively recently, but I've not seen it. So we've put that together. It's just that section. It starts with the construction of the box rig up to the fall, and it will end with John Huston being very excited about the whole thing. And here it comes.
That's the next shot. As you get out to the important part, I'll have to take the top rail.
Just one foot will be stationary like this. You probably step back like that and go. Trip this and you just pitch forward into a regular somersault.
The left-hand railing, as it were, will fall. And the bottom of the bridge at that time, so this is the railing. The railing falls and the bridge goes like this, out from under him. He falls into a catcher, which is about 75, 80 feet below the bridge.
Jim Arnett, once a stuntman himself, will personally supervise this sequence.
You see the platform down there that they're working on. That's upon which we'll place a catcher, which is constructed out of cardboard boxes.
38. Dick, you got your number 38 somewhere. The red 38.
Covered by overlapping layers of foam rubber, the catcher will compress upon impact. And from this height, the speed at impact will exceed 65 miles an hour.
Well, there's a lot of things working here that make it kind of critical. This wind would blow us back into that bank. A little movement at the beginning of a fall can catapult you clear out of your target area.
I think this is the delivery, don't you? We see them rock here, and then him walk out.
It just seems more tilted to the right than it was the other day.
On this side, yes.
Yeah.
You're viewing it from a more personal
Absolutely,
view.
John. Having taken a little...
You're really examining it this time.
Yeah.
What would Kirk Douglas do?
Victor mature. What would my criteria is Victor mature?
Victor mature.
I have extreme vertigo myself, so I admire everybody's movements, and I intend to stay way back.
Right, gentlemen, can everybody fall back behind us, please, and let us get some idea of a setup? Can everybody come this way? We're looking there.
Anybody cross the back now? Just stop anybody from coming over. Like these guys.
It's the highest fall I've ever seen.
The bridge, beneath its primitive appearance, is a work of precision engineering. 6 weeks were spent building it toward this one moment.
On whom the spur
valiant saints their hopes they knew, and mocked the cross and flame. He met the tyrant's brandished steel, the lion's gory mane.
It's all yours. That's one of the damnedest things I've ever seen.
Beautiful. Yeah, marvelous. Walking straight out of it.
Great, just marvelous in every way. Glad it's over.
As far as Houston's concerned, the story is a celebration of the human spirit.
So that is the sequence, and him landing in the box rig. That's fabulous. I'm glad. He's glad. Everybody's glad that he landed in the box rig, and it looks like quite a decent sized rig. From 80 feet up, of course, it's going to look a bit smaller, and he doesn't have any control of his fall, and that's the purpose of this, really, is to make you understand, or to show you how a conventional fall will take place and how much the stunt performer is in control of that, and then compare it to that fall. Because Joe very clearly is a passenger all the way down. What he would like to do is to be able to see that rig all the way down and then tuck at the last moment. But because of the situation with the bridge collapsing, and the bridge, let me see if I can explain it to you. That's the foot part here. That's where you walk on. This is the banister, the balustrade, and the whole thing just goes and then falls away. So that gives away, this gives away, and it's flat. So he will fall. He's going to try and go, as you can see, he puts his hands up and he tries to go in that sort of direction. But because of the speed in which he's traveling and the shape that his body is now in, that body positioning, he does one complete rotation, and then he's maybe trying to catch a glimpse of that bed as he's going down, and he will flip again and will check his final position when he lands, and you'll notice that he's landed that side of the bed. There's quite a bit of it left, but he's landed at that side of that landing bed. Isn't that far away from the edge, but this particular construction is built on a ledge. So you've got a landing bed, a catcher that is built on the ledge, and the ledge, you know, you see the size of the landing bed. The ledge isn't much bigger. It's a bit bigger, but it isn't much bigger. And there's wind conditions to take into consideration. They're not going to fire the bridge unless the wind is happening in the right place and everything's relatively calm. Having said that, if he's starting here and he falls and lands over this side here, then there's been a considerable amount of updraft or breeze that's happening in and out of that canyon. And it's a huge canyon. You know, to the ground is another 2,000 feet. So he has to make absolutely certain that he lands in that bed, which he does. But it's unorthodox, and it means that he's just there for the ride. He can't control that fall all the way down. So let's take a quick comparison. We're going to use Roy Alon as a prime example because Roy, for a huge period of time, was the man when it came to high falls. He, of course, was a member of what was lovingly referred to as the Ton-Up Club. Would do 100 foot or more in certain cases into box rigs or airbags later on in life. So let's just have a look at a particular fall that he does from a viaduct, and you'll be able to see how much control he has when we then look at Joe Powell leaving this bridge in The Man Who Would Be King. All right, here we go. So Roy's on the bridge. There's his feet. He gets an opportunity to push away. He's pushing away with his right foot, and he can see the airbag below him. Now, he's rotating his arms. He's moving his legs to just keep everything in sight. Head down, heading towards the bag. He wants to hit that square in the middle. That's the middle of the bag, And this is allowing him to do so, and then he will tuck at the last moment, as he's doing now, getting himself ready for the landing. Now, let's compare this with what Joe's been up to on that bridge. The pin gets fired. Out it comes. Boom! Now the bridge starts to go. Joe is trying to get himself in some sort of position, but he's not able to. That railing goes away, and now he's falling forwards because that edge where he's standing is falling away as well. He's got no way of being able to push off. There's no purchase allowing him to do so. So he now starts to fall. And in this first moment, he's already done a complete revolution. You'll notice just as we see him through the bridge that he's now facing up. His legs are facing down, and then he swings into the bag and just lands maybe on his side, maybe just on his side. But he's this side of the bag, this side of the landing area. He's only just hit it. It's a remarkable thing to watch, but you see him rolling out. There he is, happy as the day is long. Good lad. So you see from there, Roy leaves the top, and he's able to push away from that ledge, from the ledge at the very top. He's standing on it. He's able to push away. He's able to see the landing bag below him. And also he's aiming for that black square. That's the middle of the bag. He's not a million miles away from it. He's probably, a foot either way, but he's right in the middle, and he watches it all the way down. He's keeping his body as straight as he possibly can. He's rotating his right arm, trying to compensate for any additional movement that's going on, and then he tucks. And he tucks at the last minute, allowing him to land flat in the bed. That's the way of doing it. Now, as we saw again there, what happens with Joe is the floor disappears, and now he's falling. And he's not in control of his fall. Everything is just tumbling and rolling, and then he manages to just hit the bag, which is hit the landing space, which is remarkable, absolutely remarkable, particularly for a fall of that height. That's 80 feet, and that's a big fall. And really, from that sort of height, you want to have some sort of control. But the character, the Connery character that he is portraying for those few frames, is being killed. That's what's happening. The bridge is cutting away, and he's disappearing off into the canyon. And as a stunt performer, he has no control over his body positioning, which makes it really, really complex. And he's 53, can I add. 53 years old and doing 80-foot high falls, You're not going to get many perform, particularly in that period, but you're not going to get many stunt performers who are going to get up there and, as a passenger, effectively, gravity takes the biggest credit here, and everything else is, you hope for the best. You want to make absolutely certain you hit that bag, but it's out of his control. So he's only got little bits and pieces to go on. So it's a very, very, very exciting moment. But when you look at it again, you realize that there are many different areas, many different boxes that need to be ticked as far as this is concerned. And Joe Powell has done a remarkable job to get that all done in one take. You were never going to get a second take. You were never going to, on a picture like this, on a location like this, and with a rig like this, they're not going to set the thing up again and go for it. It's just too dangerous. John Huston's expression at the end there was evident. That's the damnedest thing I think I've ever seen. And he was dead right. He's never seen anything quite that high before. He's seen falls before, but not from that height. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And just goes to prove why Joe Powell was probably the best man for the job there. And he's done it, and it's an iconic moment. It's an absolute iconic moment. The shot itself, as Huston says, the shot itself from where that camera position is, allows him to go, the bridge goes, he goes, and then he disappears out of sight. And that's exactly what you want, giving the impression that this fall is, as is explained in the movie itself, thousands of feet. Michael Caine says to Christopher Plummer, it took him days to fall. That's the idea that this is such a height, And yet we know now that he's falling and he's got to hit this rig, but it's not exactly central, and it's in a particular place where there's a possibility that he might miss it. Thank God he didn't, but there is a possibility that he didn't. He could miss it, and that's the last thing you want. You want to be in control. Joe wasn't. Got the job done, though. So I hope you've enjoyed that. A little additional look at this remarkable film from 1975, The Man Who Would Be King. If you've never seen it, go and check it out. It's a classic, regarded by many, particularly those who worked on it. Michael Caine and Sean Connery always regarded it as one of their finest pieces of work, and it's well worth a look. We are also nearly at the end of Bob Simmons' autobiography. Nobody Does It Better. Chapter 11, I think, came out last week, or is due to come out I beg your pardon, it's due to come out next week, I'm sorry. So it will be out next week. There is another week to go, one more chapter 12, and then it will all be ready and released as an audiobook on YouTube. All right, so you'll have the lot there, but it's nice to hear it on a weekly basis, chapter by chapter. On Location, if memory serves, is the chapter that we're looking at this week. So that's good. I hope you've enjoyed doing that. And check out the Pod Dojo Network. They're responsible for the podcast. And until next time, it's bye for now.